Hi, good afternoon. Thanks very much for having me. I'm going to talk about when you do something today, and actually it's quite, when you choose to do something, and sometimes some things happen which give you a good advantage. And that previous talk is an absolute great segue into what I'm going to talk about, what you've been doing, what I help companies with. So I'm going to start with where people end talks, which is thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for the invitation. If you have any questions, please do shout during or after, or see me at the break. I'm happy to be heckled halfway through if you feel like that's super necessary. I gave the title of this talk, and when I came to write it, I was like, well, I've got about 14 hours worth of things I could say about this. And then I looked at it, it was like 25 minutes. Okay, so I'll get it down. So I'm mostly going to be talking about the protecting of data and how that kind of impacts all the other sort of things that are going on. It's something I'm very passionate about and I work with a lot of companies with. So I'm in Prismea, we're a small company, 3 or 4 people. These are kind of the obligatory, these are the companies that we work with, slide with all of the icons on it. On the left-hand side is more the stuff that companies were in places where we come from, and the right-hand side, the companies that we work with. Interesting ones to call out. I was 5 years at the MHRA, so I ran a sequencing lab. As a mathematician, that was awesome. I had to wear a white lab coat. I wasn't allowed to touch anything, but I did have the lab coat with my name on it. I got my PhD in mathematics from Reading, actually. It's a local lad, season ticket holder at the Silk family. Some of these interesting ones, that's my wife's company. She's amazing. She's doing genetic therapy for cystic fibrosis. And then other companies we work with in lots of different areas, lots of AI, lots of bioinformatics pipelines, lots of data and cloud work. And when I think of this, I don't think of all the work we did and the pipelines and the mathematics and the cool stuff. I think about the people when we did this. And I'm going to call out a way that I'd like to think about people. Maybe I categorize them in this way, and I probably shouldn't, but in my mind, there's kind of a scale. And this actually comes from someone called Simon Wardley, and he does Wardley mapping, which is a management technique, looking at things. And it goes from your pioneers and your innovators on the left-hand side, and that type of personality type, through your settlers, some people come along afterwards and build a product, towards your more town planners, the people who do that and build the good things. You can kind of equate this to products and innovation. You've got very innovation on the left-hand side in my head, the right-hand side for you, and then people doing product in the middle and commodity on the right. So if you're going to think about it, you've got a lot of people in this room are going to be on that left-hand side with innovation going on. That's where we tend to work with those sorts of people. And I'll come back to this through the talk. I don't really do words, I do pictures. They're all from Unsplash and whoever, the attributions in the top right corner, so I've got that. What do you need to do with data to be successful as an innovative small company going forward, or someone an innovator in academia going forward? What do you need to do with it? How do you need to deal with it? What do you need to do to make sure that you're going to be successful or maximize the chance of you being successful? And all I can say is start early. Start it as early as possible. It's not something you come back and go, oh, brilliant, we're going to go to clinical trial tomorrow, and we're going to backdate all of our data that we put into our systems to make sure that we can go to clinical trial. One CSO did tell me that, and I was like, probably not going to be very successful for you. What does it look like? Well, it's around your compliance and your regulatory and what data you have to give to other people and how you look after your data all the way through. And the way that I think about it is you have to set up the policies and processes around what you're doing early in your company to protect your data, to protect you. And that comes in 3 things. You write down what you're going to do, you do what you write down, and you record when you do it. Simple. And of course, you then write down when it goes wrong as well. But comes that. And people don't like doing this. In that innovative mind space, you go, brilliant, I've got my huge innovation, this thing which is going to change the world. Is it going to slow you down? Yeah, it is. Is it going to be annoying? Yeah, it is. On a day-to-day basis, it's probably going to slow you down a bit. It's probably going to be annoying. It's probably going to be something that, if you're in that mindset, you're not going to enjoy too much doing. Which is why a lot of companies don't do it from day one. They delay and they delay and they delay. But why should you do it? Does it actually make you quicker? Yeah, it does. It gets you to your next investment round quicker. It gets you to impacting patients quicker. It gets you to clinical trial quicker. If you do the policies and processes in place early and look after your data, properly from day one, it will actually speed up your journey to outcomes. It may not speed up how you develop your model or how you make your breakthroughs, but actually the long run, from a strategic point of view, it's always better to do it early. What does it look like? As I said, it's the 3 steps. You have to write down what you're doing, do what you write down, and record when you do it. It's very simple to explain. The hardest part of this is not about actually explaining it or writing the policies and processes. They're actually quite fun to write. Okay, Daniel's smiling at me. At least some pun in here is smiling at me. They are fun to write. It's cool to work out how you're going to solve these problems, how you're going to meet all of these requirements. It's a problem-solving exercise. The problem comes with changing the culture of companies to do it. When we work with companies, lots of lab people, lots of scientists, lots of AI people coming along and doing this. And the longer you leave it, the culture builds up. You don't have to do this. And also, you get leadership who don't buy into it. They're the 2 biggest barriers we have to this. And these are things that really annoy me because it stops the innovation going forward quickly. Why do you do it? It's about getting into people. It's about making impact with patients, making impact with clinicians who are going to use the software, making impact with getting them to diagnose. And you have to go through the hoops. These hoops aren't optional. I went to the MHRA, we talked about regulation. These things aren't optional. You have to do these things. So these things, this is why you have to do it. If you do it early, you're going to get to people earlier. It's all about getting into the people. There's a lot of whys. 4 actually, just to let you know, that's 2. Actually, it makes your innovation quicker. If you do it properly and you get the right mix of people and the right policies and processes and software development lifecycle and data controls in places, you actually do your processes quicker and better. We worked with a company who had a lovely young man, the lab scientist, doing all their bioinformatics analysis. They were doing large-scale sequencing on a cancer diagnostic, and he was doing all this analysis. It would take 5 or 6 days for him to actually process this data, and every time he came through, he was doing the best he could as an untrained bioinformatician, essentially. And he got different answers if you ran it 1 week to the next, because his code was updating, he didn't record what codes he did. We came in, it eventually scaled with them. They were outsourcing their sequencing to a company. They eventually got large sequencing in-house. They were putting sequencing on at 4 p.m. in the evening, giving them an hour and a half to troubleshoot the sequencing. It was running overnight. Halfway through the night, it got kicked off an automated process that we wrote for them. We ran it. We created a 60-page PDF. That sounds like a lot, but actually, everyone wanted their own analysis. So everyone just went to page 37 if that was the analysis you loved. You went to page 37 and saw whether the data was good, and it was in your inbox by 8 o'clock in the morning. By having the policies, the processes, and the understanding of your data in place and making it controlled, it made a huge difference to how quickly they could do it. They could design an experiment, get it on the sequencer, and get the results the next day. As a manager, I've run a lot of projects and things, the MHRA and sequencing labs and everything. It gives me control. If I know that these policies and processes are in place and that people are following them, I don't actually have to do anything on most of the projects. People come to me when problems are there. This is the best type of project. I get to have a successful project and I get to do nothing about it. So I've got the policies process in place. I see companies with 20 developers, which can be done with 5 if you get these things in the right place and at the right time. And lastly, back to protecting your data. We talk about data protection. People think about this with cybersecurity. There's a common thing about the foreign government agency coming and stealing all of your data, or the other company from across the road who's doing something similar, trying to steal your IP. They're risks. They're small risks, generally. What we're talking about here is we're talking about protecting about much more realistic risks, much more likely risks. Things like a disgruntled employee. I went to one company, they still had people who had access onto their cloud system, who had left 2 years before. They also had admin access, so they could have deleted all the data if they'd have wanted to. One company, someone accidentally deleted 2 terabytes of data. That was 6 to 9 months worth of work. Luckily, we come in, again, hey, we're great. But other people do this as well, is we'd put the backups in place so that in the cloud, actually, you couldn't delete it properly. You could just delete the appearance of it, but actually the data was still there. So we saved them, right? This is why these data protection policies need to be in there early, because it protects you, protects your IP. The value of most companies, at least around this area in the data and the bioinformatics, is in the data. The amount of time and effort it costs to generate the sequencing data is huge. And if it deletes like that by someone's mistake, just a mistake, press the wrong button. Oh yeah, I mean permanently delete. You type it in because you do every time. Oh yeah, I mean permanently delete because I know what I'm doing. I've done it. Most people have done it. Are you sure you want to delete this file? Yes. You do it automatically now because you don't think about the question because it's just part of the process. So putting these policies and processes in place protect people's innovations. And so that's kind of the why you should do it. And I keep, maybe I didn't emphasize enough, it is an overhead and it is something that I think that the personality types of the people involved aren't naturally inclined to do. But also it's bigger than that, especially if you've got an innovation, you've started a company, you're trying to spin out what you're doing from a university, like we've just had, say, amazing just to follow on from, because it gives me a great person to point to when I'm talking about these things. You look after this data, you're not just looking after patient data. You're not just looking after that one. You've got your financial data, you've got your investor data, you've got your scientific data we've talked about, partner data, intellectual property. We're talking about partnering with a large organization. If you go, brilliant, we've got all this data, they come to you and go, brilliant, how are you going to protect this? Because we're going to share some data with you. And you go, well, we don't, we just leave it all on the internet for everyone to look at. They're not going to partner with you, so you have to have a certain level of protection about what you're doing in terms of cyber essentials. So cyber security, ISO 27001. Do you use Google or do you use Microsoft for your email? If you use Google and use Google Drive, it's actually really, really easy to blow all of your IP wide open. Anyone who shares a Google Drive folder with the tick which says, oh yeah, just the people who have access, who have this URL can access it, is essentially making that folder open to the world. Again, I'm doing this a while, so lots of scare stories. Someone then moved a whole bunch of their IP into a folder that someone had shared within their company. So suddenly, technically, that IP was now public. Anyone with that link could have gone and looked at their IP. They didn't, and they covered it, and it was only for a few minutes before someone realized, but at the same time, putting these policies and processes in place to protect your data. And this is about getting the innovation into the patient, and these are all the things that, some of the things that can go wrong. You'll see a lot of these, and these guys will know a lot about some of the ones down here, so touch the screen. 13485 for medical devices, 62304 about software development lifecycle for medical devices, risk management. Then all the sort of interesting ones are HIPAA and GDPR to protect people's data. I love 15189. They changed it and they put an extra paragraph in to do with software, and one of the lines in it, just in the last paragraph, someone went, "I'm brilliant. I've almost finished doing all the policy process of this. Got the last paragraph to go." Someone knows the punchline. You must comply with all local, national privacy and security laws wherever you are going to sell or use this test. Wow. Hello. Suddenly, you've got to have a GDPR policy. You've got to be looking at HIPAA if you're going in the States. Obviously, 2 GDPRs, they will diverge more as we go through. That opens up a whole world of things that we've got to do. HIPAA has got a really great bit in it. So HIPAA is the American kind of version of GDPR, broadly speaking. But it also, GDPR is about data. HIPAA actually includes physical protection of your office. So you have the record of who has a key to get into your office. That's part of HIPAA. So if you're trying to do a medical test, you've then got to go and do all these things where, well, you now have to have a record of who we give the keys to the office, which doors they can go through. When they leave, they have to have a leavers policy to make sure we get rid of them. We need to do a review every year of this. We probably should have it on our monthly InfoSec meetings. Suddenly, that's a huge overhead that you didn't necessarily think about that 15189 brings into play. When I speak to companies, I ask them who their data person is. Who's the person who does it? Who's the person who looks after your cloud and your IT? Barring one company that I know which I worked at, where it was the chief financial officer, it was someone in the IT department. It was one of your researchers, one of your postdocs, someone who's come in, someone who's in that academic mindset, someone who's in that left-hand side for me of the spectrum of going, brilliant, they're a great innovator. They've spent their life getting so many great skills at bioinformatics or computational statistics or AI. But they don't necessarily have what it takes and the detailed minds to do the other end of the spectrum, which is more where this data is. It's about going, do we have everything? Have I got my spreadsheet up to date with all the records? Has someone asked for something and someone else approved it and then someone done it? I've got a record of all of those things. That's not necessarily the type of thing that that type of person can do. There are special people out there who can do all of these things, but generally that's the case. So thinking about who is your data person is kind of an important thing as well. So that's kind of a bit of a bunch of scare stories and horrible stories about people and what you should do about this, and don't use the wrong person, these sort of things. Quick wins. This can be scary to a lot of people. I know a lot of innovators, a lot of CEOs and CFOs and companies who are very much like, oh, I don't want to think about this, kind of hiding away from it and don't really look into it too much detail. Because it's an unknown. It's largely to them an unknown. It's like, oh, this is a big, scary box. So I've got a few quick wins to kind of finish up with here. One is start. Just make a policy for who has access to your email, who approved it, what day you started. It's one spreadsheet, start it. I've got an onboarding and offboarding process now. When someone leaves, I stop their access to their email and I take it somewhere else. I've written down what I'm going to do and I've got a spreadsheet to record it. Once you've got one, it will snowball and you go, it's actually quite useful. I'll have another one, I'll have another one. As I say, get the right person within your organization or within your kind of personal ecosystem to help with this. It's really, really. Second thing, start a risk register. Cannot emphasize how this basically should be running your business. The biggest thing that is your risk, give it a score, you go, right, I'm going to work from the top down. Really love it. As a mathematician, I love the numbers. Risks are very easy to do. You write down what the risk might be. You say, what's the likelihood of it happening on a simple scale, 1 to 5? What's the impact of it happening? Scale of 1 to 5. And then you do some mitigations. What can I do to reduce those numbers to get the risk down? And the risk score is just the two numbers multiplied together. Or once you've done something, the residual risk is once you've done it. So, for example, I love this, kind of butchering the story slightly, but Wimbledon, the tennis championships, when risk, something mad happens that we can't predict. Zombie apocalypse, pandemic, meteor falls on Wimbledon. All of those things, if they've already paid for all the things they need to pay to get the championships on, and the championship can't go on, they don't exist anymore. There's no more Wimbledon. They're brilliant. What's the likelihood of that happening? Very, very low, 1. What's the impact of it happening? 5. Wimbledon no longer exists. It's the biggest impact thing that they could have. Equal to the big things, but the big thing. So the risk is 5. And they went, brilliant. What can we do about this? Mitigation. Let's get insurance. So they spoke to insurance people. They got insurance. Tick. We've got the insurance now in place. Residual risk. Still very unlikely. Still a 1. Actually, the impact is now 1 because all they have to do is call up their insurance people. Say, hey, pandemic, we can't do anything. Give us our 100 million. Guess what happened? Pandemic happened. Wimbledon still exists. We don't just have 3 tennis championships. Speak to the MHRA, they're lovely people. I mean, biased, I used to work there, especially people in medical devices, they're lovely. Worked with them a lot when I was there, doing a lot of the software part for them. Move to the cloud early. It makes you much more dynamic in what you do. It means that when people on board, you can give them access to what they need quickly. It means you don't have to worry about it. If you put the policies and processes in place to protect your data, you're not worried about someone dropping a laptop or one company, insane set of 20 of those external hard drives with all the data on it sitting in the office. I'm thinking if someone knocks that table, it's all gone. Move to the cloud early. It's really, really, really useful. Use the right tool for the job. I'm not a fan of that tool there, but we use Google, but we use Google Sheets equivalent to do a lot of our InfoSec and a lot of our recording because it does the job for us. I know somebody recorded samples they were doing sequencing. Brilliant, we had it in a spreadsheet. That was great when they had 1 box, up to 100 samples. Then they got 2 boxes, then they got a sequencer, and then they had a freezer full. This doesn't work for it. Find the right tool early. Look after your data. Look after it in the right way, using the right tools. If you've got developers involved, test-driven development is the best thing ever. When you're writing software, you have a requirement, especially in a regulated space, you have a requirement you write first. You then write the tests into your system. Those tests will fail because you've written no code. This is about the ordering of things again. You then write the code, the minimum amount of code to pass that test, which keeps you control of your developers. They're not going mad off everywhere writing all of this functionality you don't need. You specifically said you can only write the code to pass this test. You've got that full traceability you're going to need when you come to do medical devices, you come to do 13.5. And it gives you a paper trail back to your software development lifecycle with your requirements. It is amazing. We write software, we've got a lab management system that we write using this. It's amazing. Big advocate. But these are all little changes. But the issue with these is, the thing with these, the bonus of these is they just add up. Start doing 1, start doing 2, start doing 3. They add up, they'll push you on that journey, changing the culture within and expanding the skill set within your organization to help you on your journey to where you want to be, which is impacting patients, making your innovation count. Maybe you just want to make $1 million, 2 million, 80 million by selling your company to someone else. Cool, that's part of your journey. Whatever your motivation is, it will get you there quicker and it will protect patients and it will get you through the legal regulatory hoops and you'll run a smoother company because of it. So not start early, start today. Think about your data plan. Think about what you're going to do when you walk out and go, brilliant, I've got data that I look after, that I'm involved with. What can I do to make that more protected, look after me, look after my IP, and get that impact? And I just got given a single finger digit by the young lady here, so I have 1 minute left, so I'm done. Thank you.